It's back. It's Monday night, Josh. That's right. It's the third Monday already without Monday night football. And ugh. I mean, all that's on is The Bachelor. I mean, my wife loves watching that. And I probably owe her watching some episodes of The Bachelor with her because, well, we've been watching football nonstop since September. And, God bless her. She's literally let me watch every playoff game without even saying a word, and that's been awesome. What's up, everyone? It's great to be back. Another episode of the Word of Josh. We're calling this Monday Night Josh to give everyone their football fix. A lot of things to cover, a lot that's happened this weekend. Obviously, we had four really big playoff games. We're now down to the final four, which means we got two games coming up this weekend. The AFC Championship, the NFC Championship. You got the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills going for the AFC. You got the Green Bay Packers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with quarterback Tom Brady for the NFC. So it's going to be a great weekend of championship football. We're going to talk all about the division rounds this weekend. We're going to talk some Ravens football since we're in the Baltimore area. And, of course, everyone around here is just miserable. And it's almost like annoying. Everyone wants to fire everybody. Everybody thinks this team sucks. And could we please focus on a couple of things here, Ravens fans? This team is 31-8 since Lamar Jackson took over at quarterback. So dial it down a couple notches. Good Lord. Stop getting ready to jump off a cliff. I don't care how good of a quarterback you are. You are not winning the Super Bowl every year of your career. Even Brady hasn't done that. So let's slow down, calm down, put everything into perspective for just a few minutes, and take a deep breath. Now, we'll come back to all the playoff football in just a few minutes. I do want to talk about my favorite topic this time, during the NFL season, which is when all the teams are hiring new coaches. You have all the teams that were terrible this year and struggled and weren't in a rebuilding phase. They were in we've seen this story long enough, and now we're going to go in another direction. And there's no team that needed to go in another direction any more than the New York Jets. Jets, Jets. That's right, jest. I can't even say it because that's what the Jets were. They were the jest of the NFL. The fact that they went 2-14 this year is nothing short of a miracle. But they did it. And the worst thing was they decided to win their first game the exact week that I needed the Los Angeles Rams to actually treat the Jets like they were the Jets. And all I needed was their defense to get me about 10 fantasy points. I could have won about $3,000. But no, the Los Angeles Rams had to lay an egg against the Jets. And you know what? As soon as the Rams lost to the Jets, they should have just said, no wild card for you. You don't deserve to make the playoffs. Losing to the New York Jets. Well, instead, they got something else, and we'll talk about what they got in their meeting with the Packers this past weekend. But let's talk about the Jets. The coaching search is over. Made a great hire. Arguably got the best available candidate in this crop of football coaches. Robert Saleh, the fiery and very personable defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers, inked a 5-year deal with the New York Jets. He's going to partner up with Jets general manager Joe Douglas and try to bring back the magic to Gang Green up in New York. And they need it. It has been a brutal stretch of time for the New York Jets ever since Rex Ryan's first two seasons when he helped guide them to the AFC Championship games, and they never won. And it's pretty much been a dumpster fire since. They've had Todd Bowles, they had the legendary Adam Gase, who just flopped. I mean, Adam Gase could not have been a worse coach, and was a terrible hire to begin with. He was horrible in Miami. got to run his system in Miami, and then for whatever reason, the Jets thought he would be a good coach. It almost was a reminder of back in 1995 when the Jets fired Pete Carroll, okay? For those of you who may not remember this, it was 1994. Pete Carroll was the first-year head coach of the New York Jets. Pete Carroll, yeah, the guy out in Seattle, the guy who before that was in USC. Well, in 1994, he became the new head coach of the New York Jets, taking over for Bruce Coslett. There's another name. And after 1 year, the Jets go 8-8 with Pete Carroll, and Leon Hess, in his infinite wisdom as the Jets owner, fires Pete Carroll and brings in Rich Kotite. Now, if you're not old enough to remember Rich Kotite, lucky you. Rich Kotite, horrible coach. I'm sure he was a nice guy, but wasn't a very... He was with the Eagles after the Buddy Ryan era from 1991 through the 94 season, so he got 4 years there and got worse each year. Comes into New York, takes the 8-8 Jets to 3-13. Nice job. And then gets a second year on the job, and they go a whopping 1-15. So let's take Pete Carroll, 8-8, very popular with his players. Let's fire him, and let's hire Rich Kotite. Well, fast forward to the 2018 offseason, the Jets basically do it again. Let's take Adam Gase, coming off a 4-year run in Miami. Wasn't very good, never made the playoffs, didn't really do anything. He's the guy for us in New York. And what happens? New York gets worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Not saying they shouldn't have gotten rid of their coach a couple years ago, but bringing in Adam Gase was the wrong move. I love this move of Robert Saleh. I'm not kidding. I think this guy is going to turn around the New York Jets. This is going to be a great hire for the New York Jets. As long as Jets ownership can have a little patience, because the biggest challenge for the Jets is no one knows what this quarterback, Sam Darnold, is going to do. And then the Jets have this amazing lottery ticket right now in the second overall pick in the NFL draft. And if I'm the Jets, I am seeking offers because there are some franchise quarterbacks not named Trevor Lawrence who can get the job done. And I think this is going to be a great time to be a Jets fan. I think it's going to be an exciting couple years. And they've got this coach who really in San Francisco came in and helped turn that defense around. Now, yes, I understand he had some great players and he doesn't get to bring Nick Bosa with him, but he's going to put things together in New York. He's going to put together a great staff. Very excited for him. So that's the Jets. Now we're going to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers fired Anthony Lynn. Mind you, Anthony Lynn 2 years ago goes 12-4, takes the Chargers to the division round of the NFL playoffs. And now 2 years later, after they get rid of Phillip Rivers, they draft a rookie who plays lights out. And I get it. They didn't get the wins, and that's what coaching's all about. But they now fire Lynn, and they bring in Brandon Staley. Now, you might be sitting there saying, who the hell is Brandon Staley? So let me tell you. Brandon Staley took over as defensive coordinator of the Rams for the great Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips, one of the best defensive coordinators of this generation. And now we hire, and taking over for him is Brandon Staley. Now, I'm not going to say coordinating a defense in the NFL is easy. Let's be realistic. It's not. But I bet you having Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey made it a hell of a lot easier. And oh, by the way, yes, you learned under Wade Phillips. So let's... The fact that Brandon Staley is getting his shot with the Chargers, to me, means nothing more than ownership's cheap, and they were going to put as little money as possible into this coach. And that's what they did, because there are plenty of other talented coaches out there more deserving of an opportunity than Brandon Staley. Now, look, not to knock Staley. That's the way it happens. But 38 years old, 5 years ago, he was coaching at Division III John Carroll University. And now he's the head coach of the Los Angeles Chargers? Are you kidding me? Like, why? There are other coaches out there who would be so much better. I mean, heck, the Chargers were talking to Jason Garrett. You're telling me you don't want to pair this rookie sensation quarterback with some sort of offensive-minded coach or some sort of experienced coach who understands what it means to be a head coach, and instead we're going with Brandon Staley, who really doesn't have much of a resume in the NFL. So, again, it either means the Chargers are stupid, they know something the rest of us don't, or they're cheap. I'm going with option 1 or option 3 because I'm convinced after years of mediocrity and years of stupid decisions all across the board. This goes back to the franchise that in 2006 had Marty Schottenheimer lead that team to a 14-2 record, the number 1 overall seed in the playoffs, and because they didn't beat Tom Brady's Patriots, they fired Marty and hired Norv Turner. Good move, guys. So, Chargers go with Brandon Staley, yippee-ki-yay, woohoo, who cares? Move on. Chargers will be looking for another head coach within 3 years. You heard it here first. I won't be shocked if this is one of those moves where they're hiring another head coach next year. That's how little faith I have in the hire. And it's nothing against Brandon Staley. I don't think he's ready for prime time. I don't think he is a head coach. And I think it's really an insult to some of the candidates who are out there who haven't gotten a shot yet, like an Eric Bieniemy. Okay? Ridiculous. And there's so many other, or a Don Martindale. And again, Ravens bias, I get that. Why not? Why were you not ringing up Patrick Graham, the Giants defensive coordinator, after what he did this year and giving him an interview? Now, granted, he came out pretty quick and said, hey, I'm staying with New York. But that's the Chargers for you. Everyone thought the Chargers were going to hire Brian Daboll of the Buffalo Bills. And look, maybe they would have if the Bills would have lost. And maybe they just didn't want to lose Brandon Staley because heaven forbid that would have happened. But that's the Chargers for you. Going to move on to the Atlanta Falcons. Again, the Atlanta Falcons, they go with the guy, Arthur Smith, Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator. Well, Arthur Black, I got news for you, Mr. Falcons owner. Arthur Smith, the guy you just hired from the Titans, doesn't get to bring Derrick Henry with him. A.J. Brown's not coming with him. Okay, yeah, I get it. You still have Julio Jones, but what's Julio got left in the tank? You got Calvin Ridley. Ridley's a nice player. Is he dominant? My opinion, no. You got some weapons there. But let's face it, Arthur Smith looked like a genius offensive coordinator because Derrick Henry was a beast. Derrick Henry was the next incarnation of beast mode. If Marshawn Lynch could have taken the beast mode title and given it to a deserving running back, he probably would have given it to Derrick Henry. So now the Falcons go with Arthur Smith, and it just kind of fits in with what the Falcons have been doing. I don't love the move. Dan Quinn, I thought, was a good hire at the time. But Dan Quinn made the right move, and he brought an offensive coordinator like Kyle Shanahan with him. I don't look at Arthur Smith in the level I do Kyle Shanahan. What's Arthur Smith going to bring to the table? The Falcons have an aging Matt Ryan. They have an aging Julio Jones who have ridiculous cap numbers. It's not like you can kick them to the curb this year and say, you know what? We're going to press the reset button and start to rebuild. We'll take our big cap hit this year and move on. And then maybe they have a plan. But let's be realistic. Is Arthur Smith the right guy? Again, I'm looking at guys who are out there who just, I feel like, should have more opportunities. Look, I'm not going to get into the race thing, but that's out there. You have to wonder why some of these teams just will not go away and give more of the minority coaches an opportunity. It's pure and simple. Pure and simple. Now, if they think that these other guys are the best candidates out there, fine. But let's be realistic. No one had Brandon Staley pegged for a head coaching job this year. Maybe some people had Arthur Smith. Maybe. But what's Arthur Smith done without Derrick Henry? Nothing. Go watch the Titans offense last year when Derrick Henry didn't play. Let me know what you think. Detroit Lions reportedly are going to hire Dan Campbell, who is the assistant head coach and tight ends coach of the New Orleans Saints. I do like this move. Dan Campbell was the interim head coach for the Dolphins a few years ago, right after they fired Adam Gase. Real disciplinarian. He played tight end for the Giants. He played for the Saints in his career. I think he's going to be a good head coach. He's a special teams guy. He understands special teams. I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to call his own offense. He is a guy who I think really has earned his shot. Now, he's not flashy, okay? He's not Josh McDaniels. He hasn't been in that position where he's called offense, but this is exactly why I think Eric Bieniemy deserves the opportunity, because Dan Campbell hasn't called the offense either in New Orleans. Okay, and I would argue the Saints have been more effective on offense the last couple of years than the Chiefs, where Eric Bieniemy is, have been more effective offensively than the Saints. Saints have still been very good, and they've been able to incorporate Taysom Hill into their offense, and without him this weekend, you kind of see why Drew Brees is contemplating retirement. We'll get to that in a couple minutes. So, Lions reportedly going to hire Dan Campbell. I like the move. I think he at least is deserving, unlike Arthur Smith, unlike Brandon Staley. We'll see what happens. Jacksonville Jaguars make the big splash move. Shah Khan opened up his wallet, and boy, does the Khan family have money, over $8 or $9 billion. And Urban Meyer, the former coach of the University of Florida, so he's familiar with that Jacksonville area. He's kind of a hero down there. I don't know how they still feel about him, though. Maybe Mr. Phil Hauser could let me know what Gator Nation feels of Urban Meyer. Meyer was the coach of the Florida Gators for a long time, took some time off, went to Ohio State. All this guy did is win in the NCAA, and now he's, to quote Steve Spurrier, taking his brand of football to the NFL and is the man in charge of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And for the first time since they fired Tom Coughlin, you got to believe the Jags have a guy, but we've seen this before. We've seen the big-name college coaches come into the NFL. The question is, what will they do? Nick Saban came into the NFL, didn't have a lot of success, but you could also argue Nick Saban didn't give it enough time. He gave it 2 years. I'm not going to be the next coach of Alabama. Go Crimson Tide. And look, for Nick Saban, you could argue he made the right career move. But we've seen this. We've seen a Steve Spurrier go to the NFL and be terrible. We've seen, again, Nick Saban go to the NFL and not be very good. We've seen a couple of other guys. God, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the guy who was the head coach for the Falcons the year Michael Vick got arrested. I am drawing a total blank. He was the Louisville coach. Bobby Petrino. There we go. So, we've seen good college coaches come in and fail, but we've seen good college coaches come in and succeed. Pete Carroll lit it up at USC, won national titles, was doing really well, became the Seahawks head coach, and has been a great coach for them ever since. So, who knows? I think it's a great hire for the Jaguars. First of all, it's going to sell them tickets. And at the end of the day, this is a business. They want to make money. They're trying to make money. They're in Jacksonville. They're where Urban Meyer is a legend. Urban Meyer's now back there and can easily say, hey, I made the Florida Gators champions. They haven't been champions since I left on a consistent basis. Now I'm coming to Jacksonville and doing the same thing. Will he get it done? Who knows? Two jobs that are out there that are still open, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Houston Texans. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say they're not desirable jobs, right? These are NFL head coaching jobs. There's only 32 of them, and you're going to get paid 7 figures. So they are desirable jobs. But if you look at both jobs, they're not that desirable in terms of if you want to be a head coach. And if you're someone who really wants an opportunity to succeed, and you have to look at this and say, am I going to get opportunities in the future? Or if I'm a guy who's not really getting serious looks and they make me an offer like an Eric Bieniemy, do you take it? Absolutely. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, why do I think they're not desirable? Very simple. Salary cap situation is an absolute mess. They are way over the cap. They have a quarterback mess that's self-created. We talked about that last week and the week before. So, and they've got an old roster. Okay, they loaded up. They sent signed a lot of bad contracts after they won the Super Bowl. Howie Roseman has no business still being the general manager there, but the owner believes in him, so he gets to stay no matter what I think. And now they got to find a head coach. So Josh McDaniels is interviewing. I think it's a courtesy interview just to sort of keep his name fresh. Maybe he gets it. I don't know. I still think the Eagles would, talking to a Don Wink Martindale, Ravens defensive coordinator, would make a lot of sense. Sometimes hiring a coach who's not an offensive genius makes a lot of sense. And here's why. I hear this argument, and I've heard it a lot this season. Well, it's a passing league. It's an NFL, offense, offense, offense. And if you don't hire an offensive-minded coach, every 2 or 3 years, your offensive coordinator is going to leave you and go become a head coach. So you can't really hire a defensive guy or a special teams guy. Bill Belichick wants you to hold his beer after making that stupid statement. So does John Harbaugh. So does Mike Tomlin. Let's look at those 3 guys right there, okay? Bill Belichick in the last 20 years has coached in 8 or 9 Super Bowls as a head coach, okay? Mike Tomlin has coached in 3 Super Bowls, and John Harbaugh a Super Bowl, and John Harbaugh has been to multiple AFC championships. So you mean to tell me that you have to hire an offensive-minded coach because those 3 guys have been in 50% of your Super Bowls in the AFC over the last 20 years, and they're not offensive-minded coaches? So can we drop this stupid narrative of you need to hire an offensive guy, it's an offensive league? Bull. Because how many offensive geniuses are being hired out there who then become head coaches and stink because they don't understand how to be a head coach? All they know is how to be an offensive coordinator. Makes all the sense in the world. Think about it. You want a head coach, you want a CEO. You need someone who can coach a team. You need someone who can make those hard decisions. You need someone who can look at the offense, the defense, and the special teams, hold people accountable, make the tough choices, make the right decisions. And you mean to tell me that 10 Super Bowls in 20 years belonging to Bill Belichick, Mike Tomlin, and John Harbaugh in the AFC, you mean to tell me those guys aren't successful? Oh, by the way, Pete Carroll, another defensive-minded coach. Also been to 2 Super Bowls, won 1. Are you kidding me with this nonsense? Gotta have an offensive-minded head coach so you don't lose your offense. What a joke. And you know what? No wonder some of these teams are failing because they keep buying into this stupid philosophy. Hire a head coach. Hire someone who is a leader. Hire someone who is a leader because that is what you need. You need organization. You need leadership. You need discipline. All 3 of those. I don't care what order you put them in. I don't care whether you're the best X's and O's guy. That is what will win. Period. End of story. Nonsense, this crap. So, the Eagles, who knows what they'll do. And then there's the Houston Texans. And what is this franchise doing? Now, it's bad enough what they did last year when they put Bill O'Brien in charge as their general manager, made him coach and GM, let him trade away DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the best wide receiver in football. And if he's not number 1, he's in the top 3. But you let him get traded away for next to nothing, taking the best weapon away from your franchise quarterback, Deshaun Watson. And now you fire O'Brien. You apparently tell Watson he'll be part of the process of hiring a GM and hiring a head coach. And look, that's on you, Mr. Owner. That's on you, Cal McNair. Clearly you inherited daddy's money and didn't make it yourself, because the fact that you let your star player know he'd be a part of the process of hiring his bosses, dumb move. If you would have just told him, look, you can give your input on what you want, but we're going to go through a process and you're not a part of it. Or you could have figured out a way for him to be a part of it and maybe had a small players council and gotten some players' input. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. But the fact that you led him to believe that he's going to be a part of the process and then wasn't, that's on you. You should have told him, keep your mouth shut. We're paying you to play quarterback and go away. We'll see you in March. No, we're going to tell you you're part of the process, and then we won't make you part of the process. And now it looks like here's why the Texans are going to be an undesirable job. Watson doesn't want to be there. Watson has a huge cap number. It's going to impact your cap. You have no draft capital because you've been trading it away. You would have the number 3 overall pick this year, but you gave it to Miami for Laramie Tunsil, and at this point you basically did that and then plan to blow up your franchise. So it's not a pretty job. Now, if you can get the right coach in there who can save your ass and fix this relationship with Watson, maybe. It's interesting. Watson apparently really wanted them to interview Eric Bieniemy. They never did. And then now that they see this blowing up in their face, all of a sudden they interviewed Eric Bieniemy today. And I like Bieniemy. I'd like to see him get a shot. I believe he deserves a shot. I think there's a lot of people out there who are good coaches and deserve opportunities. Bieniemy's one of them. I know he had some problems in his past, and he has a little bit of a checkered past. And he had a couple of things that maybe you're not going to be proud of. But isn't this a world and a country where redemption is a big thing and people get opportunities to turn themselves around and make things better? Just saying. Just saying. So that's where the Houston Texans are at. Again, messy job, messy cap, whatever. Moving right along, let's talk about the playoffs this weekend. Divisional playoffs, great weekend of football. We'll start with the Rams Packers. Let's face it, the Packers are the best team in the NFC, obviously, one of the 2 best teams in the NFC. They're going to play Tampa, I guess, this year to find out who the best team in the NFC is. But the Green Bay Packers were dominant this weekend against the LA Rams. And the Rams have had statistically the best defense in the NFL. Now, I want to talk about these ratings real quick because you're hearing a lot about, well, this is the best defense, this is the best this, and with the Ravens having a crappy showing Saturday night, all this talk came up of, well, they're the 32 ranked pass offense in the NFL, blah, 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 blah. Here's how they rank offenses, folks. They don't look at them and say, what's the most exciting, who scores the most points. It's all based about yards. So if you have the most yards, you are the number 1 ranked offense. If you let up the least amount of yards, you're the number 1 ranked defense. But here's where that statistic is flawed. Where's the field position starting? You know, are you the type of offense that if you get the ball on the 5 and you're just driving down the field constantly and scoring? Or is your defense that good in putting you in great field position and you're getting the ball at your own 40 or the other team's 40 or inside the other team's red zone? You know, there's all those things. That's why yardage is kind of like a meaningless statistic. The best offenses sometimes are if you ever look at like the top 10 of passing offenses, half the time, half those teams are like in the top 10 of the draft because they were terrible and they're losing. You look at the Ravens, and everyone's talking about, oh, the Ravens have the 32nd ranked pass offense in the NFL. And the Ravens pass offense has some problems. But let's be realistic, folks. They rushed for like 3,200 yards this year, and at different points in games, the game was over by the third quarter, and Lamar Jackson sat on the bench, and they had no reason to throw the ball anyway because no one could stop him running the ball. And in football, 3 things can happen when you throw the ball, and 2 of them aren't good. So if you're running the ball down someone's throat, you're not going to just air it out 40 times for no reason. So anyway, so the Rams had the number 1 defense, and I get it. Aaron Donald was hurt. He apparently had torn rib cartilage in his rib cage, and he still played. That's a warrior. That couldn't have felt good. But they also had Jalen Ramsey, and Jalen Ramsey is one of the best, if not the best cornerback in the NFL right now. But you know what? This guy just talks more than he plays. Yak, yak, yak. And I lost any interest in Ramsey last year when he basically faked an injury to help get his way out of Jacksonville. He didn't want to be there, I get it. But you know what? You signed a contract, you took their money. Don't fake an injury, and then as soon as you get traded, you're miraculously healed. And then you talk trash nonstop. Well, you know what? You talked a lot of trash, and I watched Davante Adams score a touchdown on you. And why? You then threw a temper tantrum because your teammates didn't shift. Maybe focus on the team rather than yourself, and maybe, just maybe, Jalen Ramsey, your team's going to win those important games. But you didn't do it this year. Now, Jared Goff, like I said last week, why is he here? Jared Goff and Carson Wentz, and I went on this rant last week, no business being the first and second overall picks in the 2016 draft. Wentz, we've covered his drama. Goff, like I said last week, isn't in a real league. And today, Sean McVay basically wouldn't even say that Jared Goff is guaranteed a spot on their roster next year. And he has a huge contract. You got two quarterbacks, Goff and Wentz, you got ridiculous contract extensions after year 3. And now they're at 2 years into those extensions, and they may be cut next year. And their teams might take huge cap hits just to be rid of them. That says how bad they're playing. Aaron Rodgers, on the other hand, when they hired their new coach last year, LaFleur, and everyone was like, how are these two going to coexist? Rodgers doesn't like him, yada, yada, yada. Well, let me tell you what. All they've done is win. And Walt Florio correctly took the time to message me last week and remind me that Aaron Rodgers should be in the MVP discussion along with Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. And Walt's absolutely right. Rodgers has had an unbelievable season. Davante Adams has been golden. Think about Aaron Rodgers' career. And what's the one thing he's had throughout his career? It's a number one wide receiver. He had Greg Jennings early, moved on to Jordy Nelson, now has Davante Adams. And then those guys were so good in their prime, they made all the other guys around them even better too. Packers look great. Packers are going to host Aaron Rodgers' first NFC Championship game ever at Lambeau Field as the starter. Yes, the Packers host the NFC Championship after the 2007 season when they played the Giants, but Aaron Rodgers was on the bench watching Brett Favre play. So it's the first time Aaron Rodgers is going to be the starting quarterback for an NFC Championship game, and hats off to them. They beat the crap out of the Rams. The Rams deserve to lose. The Packers deserve to win. That's how it happened. I'll come back to the Ravens game last because we're in Baltimore. That's how we do things. Going to move on to Sunday. Kansas City Chiefs, Cleveland Browns. And hey, look, if anybody out there says again it's the Browns being the Browns, the Cleveland Browns are for real, folks. The Cleveland Browns made a statement to the entire NFL and said, we are no longer a doormat. And you know what? This team has a lot of talent. They got two great running backs. They got a great coach in Kevin Stefanski. They've got a franchise quarterback in Baker Mayfield. They've got offensive weapons. They got Nick Chubb. They had Kareem Hunt. They got Jarvis Landry. My favorite name in football, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I still think he should change his name to People's Choice, but I don't think he cares what I think, and I doubt he's going to change his name. The Cleveland Browns are legit. And it's going to be really interesting in the AFC North. The Ravens still look like they're going to be around for a couple years. Cleveland's on the rise. The Steelers, I think, are on the decline. But the one thing I'll say about the Pittsburgh Steelers, as the last thing I'll say about them this week, is they're such a good organization. If they're down, they're not going to be down for very long. But Cleveland's on the rise. And big kudos to the Cleveland Browns for how they played yesterday. Lost a heartbreaker, 22-17. And look, let's face it, their chances to win got a lot better when Patrick Mahomes went out. But they played physical football. They played tough football. Mahomes was not knocked out with a cheap shot. His helmet hit the ground, same way Lamar Jackson's helmet hit the ground in Buffalo the night before. Mahomes was out, and the Browns had a shot. You could argue the Browns even got screwed on that end zone fumble, and the reason why, I have no problem with the rule. If you fumble the ball going forward into the end zone and it goes out of bounds, it's a touchback. I actually like that rule because if you start putting it in where it could be fumbled and it goes out of bounds, it's the other team's ball, you're going to make the game a laughingstock. It's a very good rule. Where did the Browns get screwed? Go watch very closely on the hit that helped lead to the fumble and just see if there was helmet-to-helmet contact by the Kansas City Chiefs player who made contact with Higgins. Because it certainly looked like it. Now, I'm not a rules expert, but to me, you're not supposed to lead with your helmet and make contact with another player's helmet. Refs missed the call. They didn't make the call. At the end of the day, even Kevin Stefanski said, should not have been reaching out like that. Take first and goal and let our offense score in. Instead, he reached out, winds up fumbling. Ball goes out of the end zone. Browns ball, or Chiefs ball. Browns miss a chance to get a touchdown, and who knows what happens then. Okay, Patrick Mahomes, when he was in the game, looks great. Travis Kelce's unbelievable. Tyreek Hill is the best wide receiver in football right now, or the most explosive. Okay, I am so excited to watch the Chiefs and Bills play this week between Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs. It's going to be a great game. But I still think the real story of that game yesterday is the Cleveland Browns and them basically putting the league on notice saying, we're here and we're for real. I'm going to give the Cleveland Browns one piece of advice, and this is the best advice you're going to get. You have Odell Beckham Jr. on your roster, and your team got better once he was injured and out. Move on from Odell Beckham Jr. I don't care what you can get for him. In my opinion, you'll get a third rounder for him. Take it and run. And if you don't get anything for him, cut him. You have a better team without Odell Beckham Jr. He has a lot of talent, but Odell Beckham Jr. has one thing more than talent, and that's consistent leg injuries. And it's plagued him his whole career, and he's had 2 major injuries in the last 3-4 seasons. Sorry, 2 in the last 4. 2017, fractured ankle, the knee injury this year. He had some knee injuries in 2018. And he's also a head case, and he's not as quick and he's not as fast. Move on. Your team is better without him. Save that cap money, and you can get better in other ways. By the way, for people who think you can get a first round for OBJ, not happening. Will not happen. So, kudos to the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid. They're going on to the AFC title game. They're going to play the Buffalo Bills. But big kudos to the Cleveland Browns. They are for real, and they're going to be a competitive team in the NFL for the next several years. Last game of the weekend, Bucs Saints. Last hurrah potentially for Drew Brees. Jay Glazer reported before the game that Drew Brees is going to retire after the season. Now, I got to tell you, based on what I saw of Drew Brees playing, Drew Brees' arm is shot. His arm looked like it had no juice left, and Drew Brees looked like he was done. I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. Kind of reminds me of what happened to Peyton Manning back in 2014. His arm just went, and Brees' arm looked like a noodle. Tom Brady, Father Time, looked like an all-world quarterback, and if you can't deny what Tom Brady brings to the table. Things weren't firing on all cylinders for the Bucs, but Brady kept them in it. He was smart with the football. His passing was great. He took what the defense gave him. At the end of the day, they put up 30 points. Their defense created turnovers for them, but Brady was magical as usual, as he normally is. And look, a lot of people think the Packers are going to just walk all over the Bucs. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a good game. And oh, by the way, the last time they played this year, week 6, Tom Brady and the Bucs won that game 38-10. Now, the Packers are a lot better than they were in week 6. The early part of the season doesn't mean as much, but I don't think Aaron Rodgers is sitting up in Green Bay thinking this is going to be a cakewalk. Saints just ran out of juice. They didn't have Taysom Hill, and their second-string quarterback, who is kind of able to be a hybrid player, play some running back, do some wildcat things, play some quarterback. The Saints' longest pass play yesterday was a gadget play where they pulled in Jameis Winston off the bench, who threw a 57-yard bomb. Breeze looked old. Breeze appeared to be done. It seemed like he was done. Real cool moment after the game, though. After both Breeze and Brady had done their press conferences and showered, they were out on the field talking in their street clothes. Breeze's family was down there and they were talking. Brady winds up throwing a touchdown pass to one of Breeze's kids. Brady even told one of Breeze's sons to be nice to his sister. Very cool moment. Very cool to see those two legends play. It's only a shame we couldn't see them play in a Super Bowl several years ago. Seeing Peyton Manning and Drew Brees play back in 2009 was really exciting. And then, we just didn't get it with Brady and Brees in their primes. But Brady's going on. You got Tom Brady, you got Aaron Rodgers, NFC Championship's going to be exciting. It's in Lambeau Field. The Bucks could run the ball. The Bucks were playing defense, but can the Bucks slow down Aaron Rodgers in that passing offense? We'll see. All right. Baltimore Ravens. Big night in Buffalo. And per usual, as it's been in the last couple years, the Ravens didn't get it done. Okay, you know what? The negativity around here has got to stop. Okay? I'm reading comments online for people saying, get rid of Lamar, we need a real quarterback. Folks, you can't make the playoffs if you don't win in the regular season. And since Lamar Jackson became your starting quarterback, 31-8. 31-8. There's a lot of teams that would take that production at the quarterback position. So could we stop with this nonsense of get rid of him? There are a lot of things the Ravens need to do to become a better football team, but getting rid of Lamar Jackson is not one of them. You better question why you don't believe in Lamar. Because Lamar is a great athlete, he is a great running quarterback, and contrary to popular belief, he's actually a very good passer. You want to know where the Ravens' issue was Saturday night? Their offensive line was piss poor at best. At best. In the running game and in pass pro. And at the end of the day, if you can't block, you won't win. Lamar had pass rushers in his face the second the ball was in his hands. And you know what? They had rushers in their face the second the ball was snapped. When it was snapped correctly, because they had 2 or 3 bad snaps. Horrific even. I get it. The wind impacted the game. It certainly impacted the Bills' offense. The Bills only had 220 yards of offense. The Ravens had over 100 more yards. The Ravens also dominated time of possession. You want to know why the Ravens didn't win? Simple. They didn't score in the red zone. They didn't score when they had opportunities. Justin Tucker uncharacteristically missed 2 field goals. Mind you, Buffalo's kicker missed 2 field goals, kicking in the same direction. So that wind was clearly bad. But they count. They're missed. And then, all of that, Lamar has them, 1st and goal at the 10. Bad play on play 1. I forget what happened, but it didn't work. And then on 2nd down, Lamar's got a wide open Hollywood Brown, but he doesn't have time to throw the ball because Tyree Phillips doesn't block anybody, and Jerry Hughes is all over Lamar as he's still taking steps back. But if Lamar had time to plant his feet and throw, Hollywood Brown is dancing in the end zone with a touchdown. So then we get to 3rd down. Lamar makes a bad read, stares down Mark Andrews, and throws a pick 6. And that's what the difference in the game was. 17-3. If the Ravens score there, it's 10-10, and who knows? Did the Ravens play a perfect game? No. Do the Ravens need to get better? Yes. Okay? I don't like their passing offense. I don't like their formations. I don't like their sets. I don't like their concepts. I don't like that they don't use different combinations and rub routes and different schematical things. So they can get a lot better. But I'm not going to sit here and say, you got to get rid of Greg Roman, who has designed the best rushing attack in the league over the last 2 years. And by the way, they do have a pass game coordinator named David Culley. So how much of this is Roman in the pass game? Because they have a passing game coordinator. Now, I get it. He's the OC. But we've seen this from John Harbaugh before, where he's had an OC. But go back to 2013, where Juan Castillo was their run game coordinator, and their rushing attack was abysmal. and they had a different OC. Jim Caldwell was the offensive coordinator. Okay? Does Roman need to get better? Yes. Would I mind if Roman was fired? I'm torn. Because at the end of the day, the Ravens' bread and butter is running the football. I'd love to see the Ravens continue to be the best rushing offense in the league, but I want the passing game to at least become average. And for that, you need better blocking up front. You need better pass pro. Watch Saturday night's game. The Bills are not the greatest defense on earth, but they sure look like it's Saturday. And I'll give my hat off to Leslie Frazier. They did a good job of slowing down the running game, but on the 2 drives the Ravens got deep in the end zone, they ran the ball just fine. So the Ravens need to get better. But this nonsense of firing just to fire and cutting everybody just to cut them, for the love of God, come on. Knock this garbage off. Yes. Do the Ravens need a bona fide number 1 receiver? Without a doubt. And they've proven they can't draft them because they've proven they don't evaluate wide receivers very well. They could have had DK Metcalf 2 years ago. They chose Hollywood Brown. They drafted Brashad Perriman 5 years ago. They still haven't recovered from that stupid pick. Okay? There are some guys out there. Allen Robinson's out there. Corey Davis is out there. Juju Smith-Schuster's out there. You got guys who are legit pass catchers, but you need to revamp your passing offense. You need to revamp your passing game. David Culley, if you go back and look at his history, he's had like 2 wide receivers get 1,000 yards in his 18-plus years as a receivers coach. He's your pass game coordinator. That might be your problem. The offensive line failing to block Saturday night is your problem. The defense took advantage of the wind. I don't even think the defense played as well as they could have. They still get no pressure. Okay, even when they were blitzing, they didn't get pressure. Patrick Queen had an okay rookie season. His stats were good. He made some big plays, but he needs to hit the weight room, and he needs to work hard and become a leader on that defense. And if you could shore up that middle linebacker position, they're going to be better. But the Ravens also have some tough decisions to make. But going back to the game a little bit, here's another thing to keep in mind about the Ravens. The Ravens were never able to get field position, and they weren't able to win the field position battle all night. And if you go back and watch the game and you want to be a masochist and torture yourself to watch the game, okay, the field position for the Ravens, Buffalo had much better. Look at the first punt Sam Cook had and shanked it. Gave the ball to the Bills at the Ravens 38. The Ravens defense buckled down, held them to 3. Can't argue. Ravens defense had 1 bad drive, first drive of the 3rd quarter. Ravens defense did what they had to do to win. The Ravens offense in totality. The offensive line sucked. I don't think Lamar played very well. Mark Andrews, his typical too many drops in the playoffs and in bigger and in primetime games, that's kind of been Mark Andrews' MO. Mark Andrews sort of gets a case of the yips. And Pat McCarry, with those bad snaps, killed the team. And then, oh, by the way, the last bad snap literally knocked Lamar out of the game. Lamar Jackson got creamed. Head bounced right off the turf. I saw it right away, and when he didn't get up, you knew he was out of the game. Tyler Huntley came in, did a couple of nice things, had a chance to hit Hollywood Brown for a deep ball. But look, let's face it, and the commentator said it, there were a couple of deep balls on that side of the field that were overthrown. So that wind was playing havoc. You saw it in the kicking game. So a lot of things happened Saturday night that aren't Greg Roman. Greg Roman's not snapping the football. Greg Roman's not Tyree Phillips, literally not blocking Jerry Hughes. Greg Roman's not missing blocks. Greg Roman's not getting called for holding. Greg Roman's not jumping off sides. So, yeah, can they get better? Yes. Could they move on from Roman? Sure. What I would do if I'm Harbaugh is I'd move on from Culley, get in a different wide receiver coach, and get someone who can legitimately help you with that passing game. Because, let's face it, the Ravens' passing offense since John Harbaugh has been the head coach, has never been anything to write home about. Its best year was 2014 with Gary Kubiak, and its best 4 weeks was when Jim Caldwell was calling the offense in the 2012 playoffs. Otherwise, they don't have it. So they have to get their passing game better. And the Ravens have some big decisions to make because free agency is about to cause the Ravens to make some decisions. Here are the names for the Ravens who are free agents. Matt Judon, Yannick Ngakoue, Willie Snead, Derek Wolfe, Matt Skura. They just waived Robert Griffin III today. My cousin, Anthony Levine Sr. No, he's not my cousin. I just call him Cousin Anthony because, well, figure it out. Chris Moore, Tyus Bowser, Pernell McPhee, Morgan Cox, DJ Fluker, Des Bryant, Tramon Williams, and Jihad Ward. Judon and Ngakoue don't deserve the money that they're asking for. Judon is not a $17 million a year player. Ngakoue, since he came to the Ravens, is not worth that money. My opinion is the Ravens will franchise Ngakoue, but the Ravens only have about $26 million in cap space. They're going to cut Mark Ingram, pick up another $5 million. That'll take them over $31 million. My gut feeling is they'll probably restructure a couple of guys, try to free up another $10 million and maybe make some signs. I'm not going to be shocked if Judon's not back. I'd rather Judon be back than Ngakoue. But I'd like to see Ngakoue back because he'll probably be a little cheaper. Willie Snead, probably gone. That's why they drafted Devin Duvernay. Derek Wolfe, I feel like could come back, but he's going to want to get paid. But he's going to be 32. Matt Skura, bye. Robert Griffin III, bye. Chris Moore, bye. Tyus Bowser, I hope they keep. Ravens have a lot of free agents. But the core of their team, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, Chuck Clark, Deshaun Elliott, Patrick Queen, they're all signed. They're all young. Offense, you still have Lamar on his rookie contract. I know there's starting to be some talk about an extension, but the Ravens are going to be smart here. And the Ravens have to be smart here if they want to win a Super Bowl. So don't be shocked if Lamar doesn't get his extension this offseason, because they're going to have to pay him about $300 million over a period of 10 years. So let's just wait and see. Ravens are going to be fine. Ravens are going to compete. Am I a Harbaugh fan? Everyone knows I'm not the biggest fan of his, but you know what? The man has earned the right to fix this. And listen to what we're saying. Fix this. 14-2 last year, 11-5 this year. Remember this, people. Drew Brees, Hall of Fame career, conventional offense, passing offense, 1 Super Bowl. 1. Okay? Russell Wilson, toast of the town, 1 Super Bowl win. Aaron Rodgers, 1 Super Bowl. That's it. So, calm down with this nonsense. You're not going to win the Super Bowl every year. Lamar Jackson just finished his 3rd year. His 3rd year. 31-8. You've been to the playoffs 3 times. I get it. You're 1-3. And overall, yeah, the offenses look like crap in all 3 losses. But, folks, Greg Roman designed arguably the best rushing offense, not passing, the best rushing offense of all time. 6,000 plus yards in the last 2 years. That's unheard of. We need balance. We need better blocking. We need guys to stay healthy. We need to not lose a guy like Hayden Hurst and then not replace him. He was critical to the passing attack. He was the difference in the Buffalo game in 2019 where the Ravens won. They didn't have that guy this year. So that's where we're at. Anyway, we got our conference championships. Bills, Chiefs, Bucks, Pack. And it's going to be awesome. And we're going to enjoy football. We're going to enjoy it because you know what? For 3 hours each game, you get to forget about everything that's going on outside in the world. Whether it's COVID, whether it's politics, whether it's something that's bothering you in your personal life, whatever it is, if you're listening to this, it's because you like sports, you like football, and for about 3.5 hours from whistle to whistle, from kickoff to end, you can forget all that, eat some food, drink some beverages, and enjoy a sport that's competitive, physical, fun, and creates camaraderie. Pure and simple. And is competitive. And look, the Chiefs, yeah, they may go to the Super Bowl again this year, but the team they played isn't. So we're not seeing the same teams over and over. Enjoy it. Live it up. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff. That's it for this week's episode of Monday Night Josh. One big thing, though, I am really excited to announce that next week we're going to have a very special co-host. Okay, a graduate friend of mine from high school, former Centennial High School wrestling coach, Dave Rugow, is going to join me on Word of Josh. We are going to talk about the conference championships that are going to happen Sunday, and we're going to have a good old-fashioned debate about the Baltimore Ravens in preparation. We may even talk some Maryland basketball and see if I can trademark Purge the Turge. So be really excited. Tune in next week, Monday Night Josh, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time next Monday, Monday Night Josh, with Coach David Rugow joining us as a special guest co-host. It's going to be great. Look forward to seeing you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.